Hey everyone, just wanted to put this in before the episode. I'm really happy overall with how this went, but there were some technical issues and difficulties, being the first time I've ever done a show like this. Mostly focused at the start, actually, once we get things kicked off, it actually goes pretty smoothly. But yeah, just wanted to say quick apologies for that. I'm aware of it now, I know how to fix it. A lot of it actually just came from not being used to doing this type of show where my microphone's in its old spot, talking out here, clipping quickly. You can see I start clipping out really quickly and can't hear it. Yeah, it's just something I'll get used to. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with how the show went and hope you enjoy. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of Kyber Council. Host, Fatal, aka The Playbook. Here with me is another host, Ian. How are you doing today, sir? Awesome. We got a great panel for today. We'll go from the top, we'll go alphabetically. Bitcoin, how's it going? How you feeling? Good. Sorry again for those technical difficulties, everyone. It's on me for all that, but yeah. Endallbeall, looking pretty fresh. How you feeling? Yeah, keeping it interesting. Ian, sounding fresh, sounding crisp, dude.
The two fleets in GAC. That's what I'm really pumped for this whole season. So it's gonna be fun to talk about it.
Nice. And Klesso, last but not least, we'll go with you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Like the other ones, I am excited for the new season of Grand Region Championship. I don't know if I'm as excited for two fleets. I'm nervous for two fleets, if I'm being honest. I think I'll be fine, but I'm nervous.
We'll get to that. And there was a little bit of technical difficulties. I just want to hit it again just to make sure, all fairness, Bitcoin, we ended up missing what you were saying. Just real quick. How's it going?
People are saying in the chat, we should be good.
Yeah, Bitcoin can hear me. Bitcoin?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, the chat missed what you were saying, so if you just want to say hello again, run it down. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks. Happy to be here.
And yeah, Endallbeall, happy to have you here. Yeah, so this kind of came together very quickly. I apologize for going silent. Good. Yeah, the whole goal for this show that we're doing is this should be running pretty much during the off season, in between GA seasons. Kind of tends to be a slower time for the. It's just kind of a nice timing. Think of the season as it happened, or changes that might be happening. Got this time. Yeah, it should be, I think, a pretty nice rhythm. It'll feel pretty good. And I guess a little bit of housekeeping. There's a very strong possibility we're going to see kits today. I know that we're going to jump immediately on that. We've asked for time and busy, but we'll figure it out. We'll see what happens. It actually, based on my predictions, we're not going to see it until possibly after the show. So we'll see. We'll figure it out. Got a great show planned today. And Keen, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Fatal. And thank you, everybody, for showing up here. Like Fatal said, this is sort of a short notice to try and accommodate everybody's schedule. So this show, the Kyber Council, it's planned, as Fatal said, on the off season, and the purpose is essentially a semi-rotating group. I don't know if we'll end up with 6 people like we have here, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, where we talk about GAC and only GAC. We're going to have 4 topics today. We'll go over those in a moment. Before we go over each of the topics, though, I'll go around and give each of the guys here a chance to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about what they do, streaming, YouTube, whatever, and then we'll go into the discussion. So let's start on my upper left there. Bitcoin, if you want to say a little bit about yourself.
Sure, yeah. I'm Endallbeall, the Big Chubowski. I really like Grand Arena. Probably close to 500k lifetime score. I tend to stream them. And yeah, I really like this game mode, so it's fun to be here with other creators that do too.
Cool. Thank you very much. Endall, a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Hey, Endall here from Hotkey Patrol. I'm about 6.2 million GP Div 1, been streaming Grand Arena for almost 2 years now. At the end of the season, I'm going to be recording my 100th episode. So really serious about Grand Arena, love the community, and glad to be here.
Awesome. Fatal, I don't know, there might be some people watching this who don't know you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Fatal, aka The Playbook. I just try to theory craft about the game wherever I can, and GAC is always a part of that. Still the best part of the game, in my opinion. LSTV may be catching up. We don't go there. Yeah, youtube.com/The Playbook, twitch.tv/ It's supposed to be The Playbook. The L's and I. It's weird. It's just fine to look. It's awkward to type in. But yeah, how's it going?
Cool. All right, Ian, or It's Just Ian.
Yeah, how you guys doing? I'm Ian. I do some Galaxy of Heroes content over on the channel It's Just Ian. I do a lot of different things about the game. I try to do some of those little counter guides, but mainly it's really just about any talk about the game in general. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be here.
Awesome, thank you. And Klesso, yourself.
Hey everybody, Klesso here. I make predominantly GAC videos. I started on YouTube a long time ago. I've been doing it for a long time, like Endall has. And I recently started live streaming on Twitch as well. And then I post a highlight I cut it down and put it back on YouTube too a lot of times. So you can find me on YouTube and Twitch, and that's about it.
Cool. As for myself, I don't do any YouTube. I do actually a show with Skelterix, the Kyber show, but I don't stream or anything like that. I watch all of these guys, voraciously consume their content, and try and take a few little tips in here and do okay at Grand Arena myself. I'm like 7 and some million GP and have been playing pretty much since launch. All
Try
right.
to hide from us. We know you make stuff. Sure.
Yeah, but not much. Not I don't have the balls to do streaming every week, a few times a week, really. So going now, talking about the topics. The way this is going to function is we have these 4 topics, and we'll start out with each of the topics. Somebody in the group here will take turns giving their 30-second or so opinion on it, and then it's just an open discussion. If things slow down, I'll try and keep it moving just to see what folks have to say, different input, and we'll go through all 4 of them. The 4 topics we will be covering today, one of them is around this GAC season, 11 according to CG, although I know many of us call it 12 since we count the prequel season.
It's basically 12.
All nomenclature. And about the meta, basically, what's happening here with the GLs coming up. We have a lot of people with Mon Mothma and Piet at pretty decent star levels. The second topic is the GAC meta report that's been available now for a week or 2, and how that's impacting the meta and what people do with their setting defense and offense and research. Topic 3, the most uncommon or favorite teams that people have used or seen used against them or countered or just find interesting. And the last topic, or the 4th topic we'll start with here, is actually the additional fleet requirements that we now have. I know it's not the most favorite topic or favorite choice for a lot of people here, but in Division 1 and Division 2, there's now 2 fleets required in the fleet zone. The zones haven't been changed. I'm sure most people here are aware of that, but just in case. It's just in the zone itself, there's now 2 fleets for Div 1 and Div 2 players. So what's the impact of this? How are people going to change their defense or change their play style? Let's start with you, Bitcoin. What's your perspective?
Sure, yeah. I think the funniest thing, first of all, is that there's still 1 circle for fleets instead of the 2. Like it's extremely lazy.
So how do you think, I don't know, Endall or Ian, how do you think it's going to change what people place in the top zone, or what sort of points they're going to be looking at now?
You want to go first, Endall?
Sure, yeah. So mathematically now it's more points if you clear the top zone as opposed to the bottom zone. Not much. It's just 40-point difference, I think, where before it used to be 150, 180, something like that. But for me personally, I'm still going to place my toughest teams down south. 40-point differential is not enough for me to swing it. I still like the fact that the character zone at the back is hidden and a surprise, and I want my opponent to make a huge investment to get to see that back zone. So I'm personally not going to change the strategy, but if you feel you're not going to be able to clear your opponent, it makes sense mathematically to keep the toughest teams at the top right now.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm kind of still figuring out what I want to do personally. But I think at the moment I'm gonna be probably setting a pretty heavy top zone. But having my first bottom zone being not super strong. I'm just kind of testing out as we go. But my back zone with the bottom character is gonna be very, very strong. Um, Not to spoil anything or anything like that, but I'm gonna be setting double Mal and GK on my defense. So that's gonna be a very, very hard defensive zone in the top, and it's going to be with some GLs. So I'm really hoping that they do go for that zone, and that way they're going to be kind of stuck trying to beat up that while they're not really worrying about the defenses. But I actually didn't realize that. Yeah, there's 3 there. I guess I just kind of tossed my GG without even noticing. But yeah, there's 3 in the top. But yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had here. I'm going to be testing a lot of different kind of variations with my defenses and where they're going to be placed. But really hoping that the ships do get some holds for me. I think that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I find it interesting. Go ahead, Fatal.
I was just gonna say, the one thing I'm a little bit concerned about is it almost might make ground more boring now if people start putting their hardest stuff on top. Because, like, you know, you want to reveal the front or you want to reveal the rear to get the full picture first. But if, you know, the top zone was always kind of the junk for most people, if it's just going to be junk in back or junk in front bottom and then see more junk in back, it really is just going to be war for the top. And I'm kind of down for that. I'm by far not a ships expert, so I'm just holding GK and Malevolence. I'm the opposite of you. I'm holding my best and then just praying for the best that it's gonna work out. But
yeah,
I think the goal is to do what Ian's saying, where you can set, Negotiator and Malevolence, just like if you have both Galactic Legends right now, you set those and use off meta counters. It's just being ready for that and being confident enough. Like I've been climbing all week with Akbar, trying
Same.
to get that down, and it's pretty good, but it's far from perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then yesterday, the finalizer event came back, and I was like 45 shards short of 7-star. So I was like, I better ramp this up and refresh this a few times and get finalizer to 7-star, because I know you can counter negotiator with it, but I haven't practiced enough. It's still too early. So this first week, I'm taking it easy. I'm keeping my negotiator and malevolence probably for the first part, and we'll see. That gives me a week to practice, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an issue for a lot of people is 6-star versus 7-star for both the negotiator and Radis, because using both of them on offense against any team really. But you could use finalizer against rebels at 6-star, but that adds a dynamic throughout the season where you may change halfway through as you get it up to 7 stars.
Yeah. The 7-star ability for finalizer is giving offense up, which is pretty crucial in taking out a ship right at the beginning, very early. But the 7-star ability for the malevolence, which is cleansing debuffs, it's great against both your malevolence fleets as well as your negotiator fleets, because the days and the buzz droids can get cleared. So Radis, I think, is definitely a very crucial ship in that perspective to get to 7 stars. And a couple of days when the event comes around, I'm still about 50-60 shards away, but like Ian, I'm going to be prioritizing getting that ship up to 7 stars. I think my goal also is to keep both the get ships on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting to see which people end up using the Radis against GG, if that becomes common, because as some people have posted videos or some very detailed PowerPoint presentations, it may become known well enough. Yeah. That it'll be curious to see, just like with some of the GL counters, where you see people placing teams specifically to counter the counters. And I think with at least Radis, that may very well happen.
Yeah, on that point right there, to stop some of these counters, like the biggest one I feel like people are going to be saving is going to be the rebels. And I know Blades talked about it before in servers I'm in with him. That little TIE bomber guy, that's first reinforcement with the burning, kind of just stops altogether the whole rebels with the burning. So people, I'm going to be assuming people are going to be understanding how powerful that reinforcement is. Going to be setting him as a first reinforcement, probably under Radis, maybe GK, I don't know, Empire maybe. And then that just stops altogether the rebels, because when I'm climbing, I think Klesso was just talking about it. I've been climbing with my home one versus these GKs. I can win, but there are some kind of instances where I'm not there and I can lose. But having that with having out a TIE bomber as that first reinforcement can kind of just throw off that whole thing altogether. And if that's something you see in GAC, you're going to be kind of screwed a little bit, because now you're not going to be able to clear that, especially if you're going to be setting like me a double GK and malevolence on my defense, and that's kind of a worry for me at the moment. So hopefully people don't catch on just yet, but that is something I'm kind of worried about personally.
We're not helping them out now, that's for sure. They're going to be catching on faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts here before we move on to the next topic? Anything important that somebody wants to say?
I kind of wonder if cheesing, like, it feels like the ship's meta isn't evolved yet to the point where, like, if you're holding Negotiator GK and they post Negotiator GK, you're still kind of fine, right? So the good GK fleet now with Malevolence is actually pretty messy on banners, but, like, Negotiator versus Malevolence is, like, comfort. So I don't, like, the hardest defense you can produce right now versus, like, a cheese strategy, I don't know how much you're actually concerned. Like, it feels like they need to get their butt going with the faction tanks that were maybe mentioned a while ago. I don't know. See? Right? Because, like,
one.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say one last thing too. Now that we are using 2 fleets, we need a stupid squad tab to organize this. It's ridiculous. Like, there's no way my brain's going to be able to keep all the different ships straight and what. There's no way. I'm hoping that it's implemented somehow soon, because it's going to be hard to keep both ships on defense straight than what you want to use on offense, and it's going to be nasty.
Yeah, the last thing I want is to keep my wedge in the front line instead of Biggs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, or do Akbar instead of Radis. That doesn't work out so well.
Oh, that's sad times.
I mean, I've seen in Territory Wars some people setting Negotiator with their Geos, and then, like Malevolence with their Galactic Republic ships. That stuff happens too. So,
yeah,
we need this.
Definitely. All right, well, talking about interesting teams here, let's move on to the next topic we're going to cover, which is the most uncommon or your favorite team that you've either seen or used as a counter, or checking on your history, seeing it used against you. What stood out to you and why? And to start this one, I guess, Endall, if you want to start us off.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of fun teams that I've seen. Teams that I enjoy watching, and I don't have the Javas geared up, but I really enjoy watching the Javas blow up Mon Mothma or Geos. Or most recently, I saw a video of Ray with Javas, and the Vader sort of just evaporated after 2 or 3 turns. That was
Yeah.
pretty entertaining to see. But personally, on offense, I've used GK lead, General Kenobi lead, to go against. Uh, uh, General Grievous with the rest of the Jedi. It just makes Jolie so much more tanky, and it felt pretty interesting. And now, recently, given that I've just got my Grief Karga up to G13, G12, and got him up to 300 speed or more, my favorite team to use on offense is Bounty Hunters to evaporate any team which is lower than 300 speed, like Newt, Nest teams. Just get Aura lead in there, get the contract before the enemy team moves, and take out someone with Mando. That's a really fun team for me to use on offense these days.
Yeah, it's amazing how much Grief and Mando have changed that faction into CLS level or higher in terms of what they can counter on offense. They're really powerful.
Ken, I think you covered one of Endall's videos in the Kyber show on this, right? Where he used Aura lead.
Yeah.
I think something like that. It's really neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
one of those
very
counters
flexible.
that's not. Yeah, it's not really accessible to me yet, but I think you had like a Gear 10 Aura. It's not too expensive. You can do a lot of stuff with it.
Gear 10 Aura. At that time, it was a G11 Grief and Mando as well. And in fact, only Bosk was relict, but it's a pretty accessible team, and it can, with the right modding, it can take out pretty high level teams.
Yeah, something I've seen a lot is people using those against a non-Fallen Basilishan Darth Revan team. And that's the first couple of times I saw that is before I had seen many videos about it. That was a big surprise to see in my history.
That's exactly what my answer is going to be to this question, is that so many people are using Vassal of Fallen on their Vader team to counter Rey. They're leaving themselves wide open to a Bosk lead, and it's just easy peasy. It's
True.
it's fun.
Yep.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's
why
actually
you
one
always
of the
gotta save
things.
your bounty hunters, man. Always save them for offense.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm enjoying about the GL counters is seeing some very strange creative teams. Personally, one of my favorite teams to use on defense is just building a Rey team that's meant to stop or slow down the Vader counters, like putting in their Ness, Fulcrum, which is immune to debuffs altogether, and then like Zal and L3 or Zal and Barris or something like that. I really enjoy those teams just to see afterwards 2 attempts, and they get 60 points on the second attempt with their own GL or something like that. But I enjoy the little creative, weird ways to stop counters. I think that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like that too. My favorite team right now is actually the CLS and Chupio team on defense. Yeah, I think it's with CLS trio, so CLS Han Chewie, and then the new 3PO and Chewbacca, and then it's with OG 3PO. And that team is ridiculous on defense, man. I think outside of the GLs at the moment, that's probably the #1 best defensive team in the game. Maybe Gas is up there, but man, this team is ridiculous with that Chupio unique, man. I've been studying this on my last couple GACs and also in TW, man. It gets some holds, baby. It's one of the best defensive teams. You don't even need to have a Chupio high gear. It can be gear, I don't even know, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's so dang good. You don't even need Zeta on that thing. It's pretty much the fact of modding the team correctly with pretty much a lot of high offense on your leadership, which is CLS. And then Chupio gives out all that crazy stats to everybody else, man. It's crazy. I've been just like looking at some of these holds. It's just like a ridiculous team. I think if you were to want to set this team on defense like a back wall, maybe blocking it with like a somewhat strong front wall, and that's in the back wall, that can pretty much make up for a GL team on defense, in my opinion, because it's that strong. It is that strong.
If you put a Zeta, especially but a Finn with the Resistance Bros in front,
dude, that's what
like
I'm doing
nice
actually.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Nice
Yeah, that's a
tactic.
great team too. I love
For
on
me-
that fact alone, man. I love splitting up the resistance now with doing that triple tank Rey and trying to stop some of those Vader counters, and then the OG Finn with the Bros, and then I do JTR Vets with R2 and BB-8, and that's like my favorite split right now. And then I have the CLS team now. It's a lot of fun, so I love it.
Yeah,
For me, my favorite is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
No, please.
No, I wanted to say for me, my favorite, it's because I went for Supreme Leader Kylo first. Because of this, actually, it's Rage at a training on offense with either BB-8 and R2 or BB-8 and C-3PO, and then the Resistance heroes. And just that one team with the exact same modding can take out General Skywalker or Darth Revan with Malak and Bastilla and all the stuff, or a Padme team. So just with the same modding gives you insane flexibility on offense, and I can do it because I got Supreme Leader Kylo and I don't need them for Rey. But I think even Rey owners nowadays, you see a lot of them that just pair Rey with a bunch of tanks or characters like you were mentioning that could stop a Vader counter, or even Jawas if you want to go crazy. But it frees up the Resistance heroes, and they are super OP. They're really ridiculous. A lot of people are underestimating how much they can do. So yeah, for me that was even why I got Supreme Leader Kylo. Like excluding all of the kit stuff and whether people are happy with Rey or Kylo or not. I really freaking love that team. It's pretty next level.
Yeah, it's interesting now what a lot of people are trying to do with their JTR, I find, because oftentimes BB-8 is with GG, and either they throw in JTR with Rey, but usually that means you don't have the Purse brothers there. It's an interesting and usually pretty, R7, pretty strong character.
I think for me,
right.
one thing I was a little bit surprised by is Kylo with Night Sisters. Like, that team's been around for a while, but it feels like it suddenly went mainstream like halfway through the season last season.
Yeah.
Every single opponent I had, his entire history, Kylo full first order, Kylo full easy Jedi Knight Luke, and then
Oh, yeah.
literally like clockwork, every single time the offense would open and just, hey, Daka Night Sisters, like good luck. Your counter's
I hate
outdated,
that team
sir.
now.
And it
I
like,
hate that team.
yeah, it's definitely got some weaknesses. I think cheese tends to eat it pretty easily. But just I've been coasting on Luke eating people's Kylo teams for so long because everyone loved posting full first order for whatever reason that I just felt outdated by like the last week of the season. It just became the new
Yeah,
craze.
because Luke has a bit of an issue there with all the revives. I think what I'll probably do from here on out is like this first week I'm just gonna be coasting it because I don't know if they're gonna set it or not. But once I see them set it, I'm gonna probably be setting or keeping rather my own Kylo or somebody just like a GL to counter that. Because what I used to do when I first saw that was throw in a bunch of garbage to eat up their specials and then use my gas, my full 5 first, and then I was able to beat it. But that's like 2 battles. I want to one shot that thing, you know. So I don't know. I really hate that team. That Night Sister team, the zombie, the Daka, the revives. They're not fun at all.
And the tough part is like the two easy counters is just throwing in Thrawn or Watt, but both of those mess up your anti-ray counters. So it's a tough nut to figure out how to crack there.
Well, it is right too. Like Luke can pull out the matchup, but just there's some question marks that get raised real quickly of like Daka hit the revive, all this sort of stuff that it adds uncertainty, right? It's like tossing in Jedi Training Rey in a Galactic Legends Rey team is like most of the time Rey's just not gonna be an asshole, but that one time she drops the heal block on Vader. All right, I'm set.
Yeah.
Good win.
Yeah,
But,
one thing I know, talking about Rey counters, seeing Nest in the Rey team, if you put Nest in Malik, it's interesting seeing how Nest AoE, whatever her TM removal skill is, how that really messes up the turn meter. I think it was actually on one of your streams, Ian, where you saw that happen, where Nest did her AoE and it messed up Thrawn's turn meter.
Was that a Rey team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it threw off my whole thing, I feel like, huh? Because it made it so I couldn't get my turns in the right times. It bought them a lot more time to get their turns in. Yeah, that was a scary team.
It's interesting. I noticed in the game in general, there's much fewer characters that manipulate TM now, like outside of their own team, like Kylo does or something. So there's most of the characters that do are older characters. It's curious how you can like fit those in now and then to mess people up.
It's also interesting how you don't necessarily have an incentive to have high potency on Nest, because the more random the turn meter removal is, the harder it might become for the other person to figure out how exactly to still pull it off.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Nest
All right.
is one of those really versatile characters that you can mod in 4 or 5 different ways, and there's no right way to do it. I mean, depending on the team that you want to keep Nest in, there's a different modding strategy for that. And we really lack characters like that, which can do with a more variety of different type of modding. I just wish we had more characters like Nest.
I've got to say, Piet is one of the, I mean, Watt's amazing, but Piet recently is one of the most flexible, very powerful characters we've had in a long time.
I'm almost more excited to finish my Luke so I can start working on it without feeling guilty.
Yeah, it's crazy how many teams he fits into and the different roles he can play. Pretty cool. All right, well, let's move on to the third topic, the next topic. This is the swh.gg GAC meta report. For people who aren't available, it's there. You can just go to their website, and I think it's on a banner on the top. And it shows there's 3 sections. One is the leaders, and you have counters. I'm forgetting the 3 sections. Anyway, you go there, it shows you the win-loss rate, the amount of banners the team got, how often it's used, how many times it's been seen. And you can also check whether you're looking at just like the top 1% of all the teams used, or you can look through the hundreds of thousands of matches, because I think so far they have like 1.7 million or something matches they've analyzed. It's crazy. So the question here is, how do you think that's affecting whether yours or people you're playing against? How do you think it's affecting their team choices, their defenses? How does it affect you? Like what's it doing to the meta? And Fatal, I'm skipping you because you're a host. I'm going to go to Ian. Why don't you start us off on this discussion?
Okay, so I'm pulling it up right here because I want to talk about this in like a recent video I did. It was just only the attacking ones. I don't really go into the defense ones, but I mean, there's a lot of them here. Holy cow, I'm just looking at it. So I think defense is probably the biggest thing for me at the moment when it comes to some of these meta squads because I would rather have a better defense. I mean, I'm not saying I would rather not have a bad offense or a good offense. I want to maintain both being really good, but I'm more worried about throwing them off on defense. So when I'm like looking at these things, one I've been noticing is like we mentioned the Grievous and BB-8 team. I would rather have BB-8 with a different team and actually instead toss in Newt. And it's kind of funny. We were talking about bounty hunters a bit ago and countering that Newt team, which I got to try out myself. But I don't really even use Newt on defense as a leadership anymore. I really just use him under the Grievous team because I want to split up the droids a little bit more. But the one I've been seeing a little bit, not as much anymore, is actually Gas on defense and DR on defense. I hardly ever see those ones anymore. And I don't know, people probably in my GAC div. I mean, everybody here is probably around the same div, right? But I never see those anymore. It's usually just the GLs instead of those. But there's like a lot of good stuff here. I think this is a great tool, huh? There's like 3 of them, right? There's the leaderships, the squads, and the counters.
Yeah.
There they are. There's a lot of good stuff.
It's funny you mentioned those, Ian, because they're literally my front wall. They were my front wall the entire last season, and nobody cleared me. Like, but and again, I'm just like I'm a 1 GL guy, so I'm a bit lower than most of you, I guess.
Well, yeah, I've
so
seen that
I
as
have
well.
yeah,
not as
got
much
that flexibility.
Though. Yeah.
I'm a big believer. I actually set DR almost every single time, no matter what. Gas will kind of depend on my scouting, and then either one or both GLs. But as far as the meta report goes, I've looked at it a little bit, but not a ton. I feel like I've got my finger on the pulse pretty good. I pay attention to a bunch of everyone here's GACs I watch for the most part, and then a couple others. And I think I know what's out there and what's countering it. So I haven't put too much into that yet. Maybe I'm, a little bit behind or not, but
Well, something that I found very interesting. Sorry, Fatal, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the thing that surprised me a little bit was actually the GG Watt count. How many people are posting GG Watt on defense? Like for me, if there's one team that I'm probably most terrified about right now, it's actually like that. Like if they post double GL and GG Watt and like one other low A top beer team, and it's like a good Watt, we're talking like CA Arrow Hell stack. Dude, I don't know what I'm supposed to use. Like
that's when I keep Gas.
Yeah.
If I see it in their history, that they set Watt with GG, I'm keeping my Gas now. You know what I mean? And that's just all there is to it.
Yeah. The one thing that I have found interesting specifically about the defense setting there is if you look at the top 2 or 3 pages or something, I tried a little bit at the end of last season, but I'll certainly be doing it more this season. I'm actually using that as a reference of teams not to set, because mostly with GLs at least, most people know most of the common GL counters. So as soon as you throw in a different character there, even if it's a crap character and it doesn't really change your effective win rate against some particular team, I think it's always like an easy, free way to give somebody a second, make them take a second look at it and try and throw them off a little bit.
Yeah, and this particular report, it's basically a representation of the whole population, so 1-point-something million, and opponents that I'll be facing are a very small slice of GP. So what the majority of the population is setting on defense or using an offense might be very different from what the opponents that I'm used to facing. So that's something to keep in mind when you look at these broad reports. I personally prefer to go in and look at my opponent's history, play style, defensive record, all of that, and then tailor my offense and defense based on that. But the only part of the meta report which I found really useful is the counter section. I think it's good to see sometimes you can just browse through it and see if there's any particular counters which you really haven't thought of or which most people have been using with a lot of success. That's probably the only thing I would personally use that meta report for, but not the first couple of sections with the top squads or the top leaders.
For me, it's like I didn't like that we got Grand Arena history, because before we had that, I used to just analyze my opponent's roster, and from that I could usually very easily tell most of what they would set on defense or what they would keep on offense. But then you got this history, and it really leveled the playing field for a lot of people, where they can just look at what you do. So you got to start changing it up. But now it's like going to a whole other level where literally every lazy person who never puts any effort into looking up what kind of counters might be available and modding for it or whatever, they can just instantly look up what the best stuff is, the success rates, like they don't know the exact play-by-play, but if you see what team is used there, you're just going to go to YouTube and look up that exact counter and figure it out. It's not that hard. But like Ian was talking about his 3PO team there, a lot of people would have no clue what exactly to use there or spend a lot of time looking up that information, and now they can just instantly find it. So I don't like that very much. It doesn't concern me too much in terms of the actual fights, but I don't like that it makes it so much easier for people who don't really put in too much effort. On the other hand, a lot of people are busy, like very busy in general, and we do want people to keep playing the game with. So maybe it helps them a little bit in their busy days. I don't really plan to use it myself, but not super happy with it personally. But it was going to happen sooner or later, I guess.
The way I look at it there is it's sort of, you're going to have like 5% of people who didn't have the time to find things that now they do. But it just means your victories are a little bit less crushing. But you're still going to stomp people who don't really know how to play the counters, in my opinion, at least. Didn't really change my matchups too much. It helps me a lot, though, because I'm one of those people who maybe I rely a lot on watching all of you guys to learn the good counters.
I think there's an aspect
it's
to...
costing us views, man.
I think there's still a skill aspect, though, right? Of like, maybe it erases some of the skill from thinking of a theory crafting counter. You see a weird raid team and you have to kind of figure it out on the fly. At the same time, though, they can pull up swh.gg and be like, oh, I'm supposed to use this team. That's not going to tell them modding. That's not going to tell them turn order or focus order or anything. But I don't think it's fully going to like erase their need to learn the game exactly. If anything, it actually might screw up some people harder. Like maybe they would have overkilled and beat something, but then the site tells them, oh yeah, you should totally use JTR against Darth Revan. I mean, they want to example. Okay, and then just get immediately crushed, right? Like,
yeah,
true. All right, let's move on to the last topic we have then. This is the meta in general for this upcoming season. Obviously, with the now 2 ships instead of 1 ship in that zone, the new, well, not new, but Piet and Mon Mothma giving some different options on defense and offense. The potential, well, already there's plenty of people, I'm sure most of you in your guild have seen people gearing up for one or both of the GLs. So there's some bloat there from some people on their GP without the rewards for it yet. So what are your thoughts? What are you doing differently compared to last season? Anything particular, an approach you're taking or some particular decision you're making? Klesso is not the only one with dogs here,
No,
apparently.
Yeah. As per your question, so I'm pretty much ready for Jedi Master Luke. I got everyone to gear 13, but I haven't applied the relics. I've just been hoarding them. And my plan, because I didn't want to increase my, top end GP for no reason. So as soon as he's available and the next GAC launches, then I'm gonna throw down all the relics and start, going after it as fast as possible. And that's my plan.
Do you think you're changing, or are you changing much of your defense based on Mothma or Piet, or it's pretty much the same as last season?
Right now, it feels pretty much the same because I already had Mothma done and I had her on defense the whole time. It's not like, Mothma's a weird team because there's like a good, better, and best version of Mothma. You know what I mean? You can, if you got the Pau Zeta and you got Scout Relic up and you got Kara done and then you put C-3PO with it, it's nasty. I mean, it's going to take, try taking Trey against that, see what happens. But then you take a couple of those pieces away and it's Trey of food. You know what I mean? So, and then even if you don't, a lot of these people are going to have Wedge and Biggs now and Lando, and they're going to throw that on there and it's going to be okay. But, like I said, it's good, better, and best on that team. So it'll be interesting. Like, you got to kind of take that into account when you're scouting people, what are they capable of?
Makes sense. I know, Ian, you've been using Piet in a bunch of different teams, mostly as anti-Ray, I guess.
Yeah, it's my go-to whenever I see I I'd really say more than 2 tanks, like a triple tank. I'd probably use Piet there, or we usually just use him anyways because I like him so much. It kind of depends on the tank. If it's like a Holdo, probably gonna use Piet there because if there is a CA, or I mean not CA, but if there's a Zeta with a CA on the Holdo, I want to use that Piet because I want to get more offense output, right? So I use him versus the Holdos. If there's no Holdo, I'll probably use Treya, but regardless, I probably want to use Pia anyways, just so I have the option to use my Treya with Scion. And it's a good thing that it's a cool thing that Klesso just talked about those better and best teams with Mon Mothma, because there are those really solid ones that you just mentioned there with Kara as a tank, but then there's also those ones that aren't even that great. But when I'm thinking of using my Treya Sign now, I can probably now pull off the Mon Mothma. I used to not have my Piet built up, so I had to use Treya versus those. And once I did do that, I didn't have the Treya to use versus some of these Rays, so I was kind of just stuck. And like, what am I going to do now? Because sometimes I need the Treya's isolate versus some of these Rays. So there's some of that I got to worry about, but now it's not as bad because I can just use Piet regardless. And Mon Mothma, like we were just talking about the whole requirement guys. That's my new defense team right there. I actually went ahead and got my SRP up with relics because of the fleet too. And I don't know if I wanted to do that. I'm now looking back at it because all those carbs I just wasted. But man, it's for the fleet aspect, I'm okay with it at the moment. But I feel like I might not be okay with that as we soon find out if the guys do set some of these type bombers on defense, because that would make me really sad. But other than that, I think for my defenses, what I have been changing up a little bit has really just been adding that new COS team I found out on defense, and that's going to be a back wall team. And I am very much so anticipating that to get at least one hold, at least maybe more, because that will definitely bring a very top tier team to beat. I've seen people actually tell me in TW servers they use the GL versus that and Gas and Darth Revan. So if they use one of those, I'm definitely okay, and I'll be okay. I'll be very happy if they do that. So that's probably my biggest change is just now using the COS on defense, honestly. And I guess remodding my Ray a little bit to stop some evaders like we had mentioned before. Triple tank, CA on the Ray, Tenacity on the Malik, and CA Malik. So stuff like that. Some of the new stuff I added in. So yeah, I'm pumped about it. Very pumped.
Cool.
Nice.
For me, I think 2 or 3 things I think I'm doing differently this season. One is again, like everyone has mentioned, Piet. I want to get my G10 Piet into my Ray counter and get Bastila off that team. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I want to make the Jedi counter to Ray workable with there are a lot of teams where it makes sense to just go ahead and mark Ray right at the beginning and then power down with General Skywalker and Jedi Knight Luke. I want to make get that counter a little more flexible, so that my it gives me a little more options on offense. And then on ships, a couple of things. One is obviously get Radis up to 7-star in the next event, which is coming up in a couple of days. And after that, I want to. The recent thing I've done just in the last couple of days is put 6E mods on all my Rebel fleet. So SRP and Biston, full 6E mods on all of them. Even put a G12 plus piece on SRP to get the Biston ship to go at 152 speed, which is going to outspeed all of Negotiator and maxed Anakin's. And I put G12 6E mods on my Akbar as well to get the home one at 178 speed, which is just 1 speed more than the Vulture droids, the max Vulture droid, just so that you can get to go before the Vulture droid has a chance to apply buff immunity. So those are some changes that I made in fleet, just modding my pilots a little better, and just getting ready for a few alternate counters to Ray.
Nice. I don't know how much I'm gonna change. Don't want to sound cocky, but last season nobody full cleared me, so it's like, yeah, why fix it if it's not broken? But I'm basically forced to change some things up because it's Night Sister month, and there's a lot of Night Sister feats, and Night Sisters are like a really important part of my defense with Relic 7 Spirit, who's like crit damage, crit chance modded with like 304 speed. So a lot of people think, oh, let me just soft counter that, and then they don't soft counter that, and they're like, okay, then I'll go against Grievous, I guess. Yeah. So it works well, but if I have to keep it for offense occasionally, then I'll have to change things up and see if I can still stop people from full clearing. So I don't know. I might change some things up. I always do try to adapt to my opponents. so that I don't that I'm not super predictable. But last season I mostly did set the same thing just as a test to see if people could break it. But like I said, I'm a bit luckier because I just have one Galactic Legend, so it's definitely easier than what a bunch of you are facing.
Yeah, and is
But,
Ashen Soul helping you as well now, Bitcoin, with your defense? You know, after your matchup.
Nope.
Okay.
That was the one. No, that was actually the season before the 3v3. Was it? I don't even
Yeah,
remember.
I think it
was fun to watch. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
We'll see if we get another one of those. I think she's probably watching in the other room.
Cool.
Yeah, for my end, it's been a little bit weird. Again, last season I kind of just felt a little bit outdated by the end. Like I knew the other stuff, I just hadn't practiced it, so I did like a full 3-hour remod or something, just trying to get like a really flexible remod so that I can do like Nukem if I want, JKR, JKL if I want, Gas Cheese, but also CLS on defense if I feel like going that direction. It feels weird, not like I don't have a set game plan. My opponent for today actually doesn't have a GAC match history. He just posted and never attacked last month. So
Wow.
how do you fight that? He has no plan. But yeah, so I'm kind of just in like I'm almost in like trial and error mode, and then we've got G coming, and ultimately we'll say 2 or 3 weeks. Just it's gonna take people time to farm those shards. Yeah. But yeah, it feels like the meta is shaking up in a pretty nice way, and I'm kind of happy to have an opportunity to shake it up as well, because you never want to be same strat, same offense every single day. Some varieties.
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps it entertaining too. I think especially if you have as much flexibility as you described. That's it's quite cool.
Yeah, I'm going back to Bounty Hunters, which I really enjoyed, but I'm not really necessarily changing much of my offense or defense for this season after the last couple of weeks of the last GAC, with the exception of playing around with my Bounty Hunter turn order a little bit to try and find a turn order for Mando that fits both against the Padme teams, because he's not going to crit and grant TM, and against like the Darth Revan teams where he does crit and grant TM. So like finding a perfect spot to fit him in there so you don't waste a whole round of turn there. And then trying to find, I'm not a big fan of Mothma on defense, or at least I haven't had good experience. I don't want to place like Nest and Geos and force a Traya mismatch somewhere. So trying to find a team that Mothma can beat with decent banners is what I'm trying the most. Because I have decent Rebel attackers, so I haven't figured that out yet, but that's what I'm working on. All right, that is it for the 4 topics we planned on covering, and we almost did it in an hour. I'm very appreciative of everybody trying to fit it in here. I think now I'm going to turn it back over to Fatal to see if there's anything going on with our wonderful and lovely audience before we do a bit of a wrap up.
Hopefully we've got the combined chat. There are people on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. Heard of. Sure, hopefully it's on screen. If not, I can still see you anyway. If you want to send in your questions. We actually already got some coming in. We have Owen Hoare here saying, questions for anyone. Do you think OG Palpatine is going to get a rework because of the artwork changes?
Yes. Maybe not big ones, but
yeah, I think it's just CG's made a pattern of it by now. They don't do anything unless it's something. Question 2, do you think the GL kits are coming out today? We kind of brought that up a little earlier, but what do you think? What's your bets? Because I don't think they're out yet, so we still got time for hot takes.
If it's going to be coming out today, or
if it's coming out today,
like I don't know. I would assume so from what everybody else has been telling me.
Right, that's been the rumor mill for the last week, is that it was going to be today. So a lot of times there's a lot of truth to that.
The client update was last night, so I would, it makes sense it comes out.
Yeah,
and the whole reworking his little kit, or not kit, gosh, his
artwork.
His look for artwork. I think it's probably gonna be today.
We got, oh god, I'm gonna say this completely wrong. Dr. Weisfa, I want to say, says, honest answers. How many of you lower your top 80 GP for more favorable matchups?
So funny thing, real quick about him, he's actually playing Arnold in this match right now.
Heck yeah.
He's a good player. I don't know I don't even know how do you lower your top 80? Just take mods off of them or something? Is that what you would do? Like I don't know. Is that a thing? Like I'm cognizant of my top 80. Like I don't R7 stuff that I don't have to, but that's more of just a resource management, and it has the added benefit of not getting crazy matchups in GAC. But I don't do anything in particular to lower it. I didn't know that was a thing.
I
Same here.
don't have any
I
mods on
don't-
my Lando, for example. But just because I never bothered to put them on in the first place, is I'm never going to use them.
Right.
But for the rest, it's the exact same as Klesso.
I don't have any of my characters unmodded because a lot of times I go down to the depths of my roster, so I like to have mods on at least most of them. But that's just my style of playing. I go defense heavy and tend to have little on offense. But I do I will say one thing. I do tend to avoid putting relics or once I get my characters to G13 until until I feel I'm ready to get the requirements for the character. That's probably the only thing I do in terms of GP management, but otherwise nothing in terms of modding.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, what I've been doing is you guys talking about not really touching your low end. I get these really stupid looking 15 mods, like we're talking accuracy ones, and I just slap them on like these Jawas I got going. So I just so I want to increase my plus 15s, you know, to make myself look cool. But other than that, the relics, I just freaking for at least Luke right now, I was already so close to getting him done. I just need to get the shards for Mon Mothma and Chupio. I just slapped the relics on them. I think I'm only missing 3PO. In I think Lando, he needs relic 5, he's at relic 4. I think with what I did for Kylo and Rey, for both those, I did wait until like I was all the way done and then I went for it. But for this one, I'm just kind of winging it. I'm just going for it. I'm at a point right now where I'm pretty confident with my GL counters, and I got double GL and Luke to the point where I probably can get away with that. If I didn't have everything for these new characters, I probably would wait for it for a little bit. But I feel like I'm able to just go for it because I already had a huge horde I saved up, and I just slapped it all down pretty much. I do need some more of those blue data pieces though. I'm kind of low on those bad boys. But that's my little take on that.
Yeah, from my perspective, I'm pretty much the same as Klesso. The only thing is I am extremely reticent to spend any relic levels. I'll relic 7 like the GLs or major characters, but otherwise I don't even take them to relic 5 unless it's a big, a main DPS character I use. Relic 2, relic 3, that gets the job done in almost all cases for me.
Yeah, from my perspective, my opponents are pretty much always like 0.3 to 1.7 mil GP higher than me for whatever that means. It doesn't really mean anything, but just to give an idea, I guess I don't mod the bottom end of my roster, but I just do that out of time's sake of like I already spent enough time remodding the game as it a time for my imp troopers that I haven't, they're not in great shape. I'm not gonna bother giving them stuff because like you're only gonna use so many teams, and I mod the teams that I expect to use, either posting them or winning, and I don't plan to lose battles for the most of the part, so like it's just about a time, and like even when I don't mod my characters, pretty lopsided matchups. It's all in good fun. All right, what are we looking at here? Blade says, do you simp for any Galaxy of Heroes players, and why is it Blade?
All you, Ian.
Oh, is this mine? This is my question.
It has to be.
Dude, I don't simp, man. You know what? The tables have turned, man. I haven't simped for anybody in any servers for a good month. That is Blade.
If you guys want the mullet there?
I lost the mullet. Yeah, that's what happens, man. That's just how the freaking thing works with simping. Now, dude, Blade needs some serious help in that department with things. If you guys ever want to hit up Blade in the DMs, feel free to. He needs some desperate help. His sister's even telling him that it's pretty bad, and telling me that it's pretty bad. He needs some help. I simp for Cal. I think he's in the chat. I also simp for who else? Tonto. He's not in chat, but he knows who he is. Malice. That's proprietary though.
We actually got a pretty sick question from Louis Tune. Which character do you guys want to relic next but can't because you're tied up by jail requirements?
That's a good one.
Louis is in my
Pow for
guild.
me.
I feel like he's sending me a trick question for approval to like start relicking whatever. And for me, I don't know. I've always wanted to relic Django, I think, just because he's such a versatile and,
You don't
and
have
really
relic
powerful
Django,
attacker.
dude? What?
Nope, he's gear
What?
11. Yep.
Dude, he's amazing.
Haven't been able to spare the resources on him, but would love to.
Yeah, he's really good.
I'd love to relic Pow and build that sort of really nice Mothma team, but
Yes.
the ways off.
Yep, that was going to be my answer. Pow's about the only person. I've got the Zetas. I've already got more than enough. I got all 6 that I'll need for Jedi Master Luke, and I could drop one, but I don't want to spend the gear until Luke's done. And then once Luke's done, I'll probably have to focus right away on Sith and Eternal Emperor or whatever. But I might throw a Pow in there. I don't know. We'll see.
So just out of curiosity, are all of you guys going for Luke first?
Yeah.
Because I've heard some of you mention it.
I think it's all of us have been playing for a long time, and it's pretty clear that Luke is, a hand to all of us old term players and new Palpatines for the new players. You know what I mean? Because everybody's so close to Luke, it's ridiculous. If you've been playing for years, what you got. You'd have to be crazy not to.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit
just
further
those
away.
marquees. Just the marquees that not everybody has.
Yeah, true. I'm a little bit further away, but the reason I'm asking is because I feel like a lot of people are going for Luke because they're close, but they're looking at the requirements and not really at what it does to the rest of your roster that stays behind. And I feel like the best Luke team is probably going to murder all of your light side teams, whereas Sith Eternal Emperor might just rework a bunch of those lousy Sith that we never really had a place for, which then allows you to keep your light side teams intact, which could give you a much stronger like Grand Arena setup. So I'm not sold on either yet, but I'm keeping my eyes open towards SEE.
I really just want to see the. I won't choose until I see the kits.
Yeah,
That's fair.
In 5 minutes, how long is it?
I think we're
Fingers
about
crossed.
an expected hour away.
Damn.
Actually,
we got a question from the Twitch chat here. Do you guys feel that splitting Division 1 into new divisions would actually achieve anything? Very topical. This done.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at it right now, we have over 100,000 people in Division 1, all the way from 4.5 mil GP to 9 mil GP. I think the top GPs in the game is about 9 million. So the amount of the leaderboard, it becomes almost meaningless if you have such a wide range. You have people with double GLs right at the top, and you have people with no GLs right at the bottom, and a wide variety of roster diversity. So it really makes Division 1 meaningless, and CG sort of shot themselves in the foot by keeping the divisions named 1 to 10 instead of the other way around, where they could have expanded. If Division 1 was Division 10, they could have just added a Division 11, 12, 13, and so on and so forth. So it's a tough situation for them to be in, but they need to do something, because you'll ultimately reach a stage where 70-80% of the population is in Division 1, and then there's no point to having division anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit disappointing for me to see CG be like, all right, ships need work, guys. We gotta bump that up to 2. And like, yeah, but ground has been way more in need of work, in my opinion, for a while now. Like, ships isn't going to change my day to day, but like the ship's map, especially now that 5v5 character only seems to just be a thing of the past now. Like, even if they just made this true for, Division 0, whatever, since they can't go up, I would love to see more character slots. I think to some degree, there's a lot of squads that are basically forgotten again, because that to me was what Grand Arena was good at in the first place. Back when like Revan was the highest team, you'd be like, oh, man, I'm using my Ewoks. That's crazy.
It's still my favorite team of all time is my Ewoks. I want to so bad relic those bad boys and have them be useful, but I can't. I want to so bad though.
Do it.
They're pretty good. One of my shard mates, arena shard mates, has a few relic 7s, and everybody is relic, and he gets some really good holds with them.
Yeah, there's some definite tricks to it. If you make Paplu super speedy, put a lot of potency on what's his name, and
Logray.
Logray, and then you put R7 on Wicket, and he just hits like a truck. It's amazing. But you can catch some people off guard for sure with that team. But it can still be beat pretty easy too, unfortunately.
My only concern with more teams on defense is all of these Grand Arena streams are going to be even longer.
Yeah.
There's just going to be a 24-hour rotation. There's always just going to be someone on.
Yep.
Can't escape it.
Awesome.
All right, we got another question from Franklin. Do you think the new GL events will be more cinematic or story-based like the Heroes Journeys? Or will they just be stock battles like the first two GL?
I just want more paper, rock, scissors. That's all I want.
That's all I need, baby.
Been studying up, been working on it. Yeah, I guess personally, I think there was a lot of backlash for the first GLs, and there was a lot of good feedback, I feel like, for Luke's event. A lot of people seem to be pretty happy with that. I feel like it's probably a safe bet that CJ is going to want more of the good feedback type of stuff. So, feeling on it. How about you?
I hope so. Luke event was awesome.
Yeah, thinking about it, I think in terms of what you had to put in and like what you got out of the experience of that event, I think Luke is by far the best one, right? Just like looking at it and thinking about it. A lot of fun stuff. I liked tier 6 a lot with like the bare minimums, using the Chupio's AoE, just freaking blasting away those dudes. That was so much fun. I loved it.
Anybody else, or on to the last?
We all want the rock, paper, scissors, baby. That's what we want. That's what we need.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like we've had enough art department questions in those Q&As we used to have with CG. So
a shame.
Where have those gone anyway? I have no idea.
I assume it's because they did them in person, and there's no reason. People do AMAs online all the time. I don't know. Maybe there's some logical reason, but yeah. I guess blame COVID because it stopped pretty much at COVID. All right, last question. Yeah. Let's go from Max Lee. GL kits might change this, but for those people with 0 GLs, which GL should they farm first?
Well, if you've got 0 GLs, I'm assuming you probably might be an early stage player, which would make probably Sith Emperor Palpatine easier to get. But so yeah, if just from an ease of attainment perspective, I think Sith Emperor Palpatine might have the easier requirements. Long term, Kylo, for example, can solo the raid. It's got tons of utility, and we'll have to see how the new kits are. But SLKR is a very good first option to go for if you're still deciding.
Yeah, I would wait a few days until we see the kits for the new GLs, but being able to solo the raid is a huge advantage in long-term roster development with SLKR.
Bitcoin?
Depends very much where you're at, I guess. But indeed, let's wait a couple days, maybe. It's like we can answer this question, but the answer might change very soon. So not too much to say there just yet, I guess.
I guess to add on to that, I would say don't just wait for kits, because there's going to be a week period where all we're going to have is words, and we won't know what their actual stats and damage output is and all that stuff. Because I remember a lot of people freaking out about Kylo, and look at how that went.
Yeah.
True. Maybe someone was trying to bang the drum for Kylo for a long time. Maybe they're a little bit right. Yeah, just speculation's fun, speculation's fine, but nothing's final until we have all the information we can get. And unfortunately, that doesn't come with kit review. So it is what it is.
And I think a lot of us are under the assumption that they're being truthful, that the next Galactic Legends are going to be equivalent in power to the 2 that we have now. So if you have 1, you can kind of beat them all. And I hope that's true, but who knows, and then how many
You like climbing from rank 243 every day?
I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I'll be good.
I hope not.
And
Hey.
even if you look at the current two GLs, I mean Ray and Kylo, with a pure resistance squad, it's almost it's extremely difficult to beat a pure first order squad. You have to bring in these Frankenstein Ray teams in order to be able to maintain an arena and to do good in GAC. Uh, so we don't know how the new GLs might play out, whether it'll cannibalize from other teams. Even if they do hold their
Yeah.
own against the other GLs, they might just end up cannibalizing from other teams and make your overall roster and strategy much worse. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
I guess I'll tack on a bonus question while we're in this space talking about this is you see 4 Galactic Legends on defense. What do you do?
APK.
We're there, right? The possibility of 200 Galactic Legends in a territory war defense is real now.
Yikes.
For
That's-
sure.
Yikes, dude.
As
Husky
a
Patrol
territory
looking-
war officer, it sounds like time to resign.
Yeah.
Hope you have friendly arena shard mates to do a lot of testing with. That's the
Fatal.
goal.
We must test.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be happening.
Oh,
I'm going
yikes.
for Luke. Like, I don't have energy banked yet, but I might try to start banking. What's there? Yeah.
It caps out, doesn't it?
It caps out for doing crystal refreshes, and then you're just on the daily. So
Okay.
you're getting like 150 per day. It's
Oh.
it's not great.
Except those Android users.
Yeah.
And then CG's like, well, due to some technical difficulties or agreements with Disney, we have to delay it by a month.
God. I mean, I guess
Heck
it'll benefit
yeah.
people, right? If you're going for Palpatine and they delay right now, then you're like staring at Pyatt's like shard farming date. Like,
Yep.
you're probably pretty happy to hear that. If you're Luke, you're
Yeah,
like,
that reminds me of that was the Darth Revan release, right? I was totally ready, and then they delayed it by a month, and then everyone else in my arena was ready too, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh god.
like, and everyone knew it was already coming anyway because they released 5 more Old Republic marquees. Like, yeah, really tricking us there.
Yeah.
And the 3 Zeta Gamorrean Guard, I think it was.
Ooh, watch out for that guy.
Look, test servers are test servers. They didn't mean for that to be. I'll defend his honor. I think, art takes a while. But yeah.
I think one cool thing now looking at all these 4 GLs is like it's pretty clear to me that the Luke is like the long-term one, and it's probably the best one, like we just talked about for the long-term players already. But the other 3, you can kind of pick and choose where you want to go if you're like a somewhat new of a player. And I think that's a pretty interesting and fun thing. I'm not sure if they had ever talked about that. Like you can kind of choose and like go down. Like it's all going to be relatively like the same amount of effort put into it to get a GL. But I really like now like looking at it 4 GLs now, and I would say the 3 others besides Luke are pretty relatively on the same kind of playing field of what you can put forth and unlock it. I think that's pretty interesting, and I think that's pretty nice.
I agree with the sort of exception that like it's from our perspective as people who have a good chunk of GP and a lot of characters leveled already. I think if you were to start the game now and you look at how much is in there, and it's like you're just looking at 4 Galactic Legends, you don't have 1 yet. You think by the time you're gonna have 4, it's gonna be like 3 years later. So that's I guess that's like might be a bit demotivational for some people, as it's it's like a huge task to take on. And for me as well, I'm a free to play player. And like the odds of me having all of the 4 GLs is going to be pretty low because by the time I get like a third, there will probably be a new set again, and I have to hoard for that. So it's quite tricky. It's a pity at the same time because you do want to have all of them eventually, but that by the time you do, it might be because CG just stopped developing stuff.
Yeah, poor Endall. I mean, Fatal. Who are we talking to here?
I guess suddenly we're not in alphabetical anymore, just in time. Yeah, I don't know. If
But
anyone...
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, it's a very interesting Bitcoin. I can imagine, but it's a very different world starting playing the game now than even a year and a half ago. Right around the whole Relic and G13 or yeah, really G13 and Relics just changed things so dramatically for the game, for new players also especially.
And I guess the Hyperdrive bundle, because that killed like competitive free-to-play. Like you have to buy that thing to get your top arena ranks to get high enough crystal income to eventually get all of those characters. That's otherwise you just can't do it unless you spend money on the game.
Yeah.
And when I started, I was like top arena ranks for a long time, so I was able to. I feel like I sort of had a golden period where I could move along. But starting now, it seems insane.
Like,
for which you need to unlock.
You start now and you look at Luke's requirements. Like, how? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you even respond to that? Like, you can't even be like sad or mad anymore. It's just like it's so out of reach for such a long time.
I think one thing that we should accept, at least Dolphin and free-to-play players, is you may not actually get all 4 GLs, and you might have to live with that. I at least have accepted the fact that I may not be able to get all of them, and I'll have to pick and choose maybe 2 or 3 of these 4, go for them, and be happy with that. Develop my counter for the others, and be happy with that. I think some of us just may have to accept it. Previously, all legendaries, you could in a way have a path to get all of them. Now with GLs, that may not be the case.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
True. All right. Anyone else have any closing thoughts? Or we can wrap this up. Actually, pretty close to an hour. We're getting there. All right. Yeah. Any closing thoughts or?
Well, I'm pretty pumped about having a bunch of Jedi now to work with now this new GL being Jedi Luke. It's gonna be a lot of fun with the Jedi faction. Probably can see a little bit more JKRs on defense, perhaps. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting though.
I still.
First,
Oh, good.
I was gonna say my very first Zeta in this game went to Darth Sidious, and now that I actually have to make him Relic 7, I'm gonna put some good mods on him, and I will find some place to use him in my GAC. I'm pretty excited about that.
I did some math on him like a year ago. I think that with Max Relic, you can get him up to like 400k health or something. Like just straight up GL Ray here. You're gonna need some weird ass mods, man. It's gonna be. If you have the mods that he needs, then I have some questions. But if you got him, he can become a pretty big boy. Kind of exciting.
Makes me happy.
Yeah. All right. I guess it seems like a good time as any to wrap it on up. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and watching today. Just go from the top again. Bitcoin, if you want to shout out your stuff, plug your platforms, shout out your socials.
Yeah, not too much. I make some Grand Arena videos sometimes. So if you want some insights on like a bit more strategically, then take a look at that. And for the rest, yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun to hang out.
All right, Endallbeall. You're up next.
So I make Grand Arena videos as well. I'm on YouTube. Just search for Endallbeall on YouTube, and you can find me there. I don't have a Discord, although I do hang out in Indigo and Zaret's Discord server. So if you're there, come and say hi.
Ian.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it was fun. Ian, what's up?
It was a lot of fun. I like this a lot. I want to be on this a little bit more. I think this is a really fun podcast, and I am over on the channel ItsJustIan. I do GAC streams. I'll probably stream mine in like an hour and a half from now. Hopefully the kids do drop and I can talk about that. But yeah, I do GAC streams. I do pretty much every other video you can possibly see about this game. I probably will cover. And yeah, over on ItsJustIan on YouTube.
All right. Mr. Sippy Cup himself, Klesso.
Yeah. First off, thank you guys for having me, and thanks for everyone that came out and chimed in and watched. That's awesome. Appreciate all you guys. If you want to watch me do GAC predominantly, just search Klesso on YouTube and Twitch. I'm always around, and that's it. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, Bean. I know you're self-proclaimed to not have many socials, but do you have a show, perhaps, a shout out?
Yeah, sure. So I do the Kyber show with Skeltrix over on his channel. That's every week during GAC. So the first episode will be not this coming Friday, but next Friday. And I take videos from all of these content creators, and sometimes find a few things that they could have done a little bit differently, or highlight some of the things they did really well. And so far, they've been pretty cool in letting me do that. So that's me. And thanks very much for Fatal for agreeing to host this on such short notice and put this together, and all of you guys for attending, and everybody for watching. A lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it legitimately wouldn't have happened without you. You know, I've wanted to do like a roundtable for kit releases, but I think this ended up being a lot more